Hey guys, Zero here, welcome back to Let's Play RuneScape. I hope you're all doing very well. It's been a little while since our last Let's Play, so a few weeks ago I accidentally made 10 untradeable tree-shaking Scrimshaws. Turns out that was not the whole story, because I also accidentally made 10 gem-finding Scrimshaws, and so I decided to look for a good place to use them. Thought maybe I'd try and make another similar video. And I settled on this really cool place. It's from Between a Rock... It's a quest from the Dwarf series. And it's really cool. You get fired out of a cannon through a rock face, and then you're like stuck in the rock. And there's like tons of gold in there, which was perfect because I wanted relatively high-level rocks that I could mine continuously. And you're like, there's these floating rocks all around. You got this huge Zaros symbol in the middle, so it was a perfect spot to hang out and do my mining. Well, after the first Scrimshaw, it didn't look to me like the Scrimshaws were working there. And I've heard, that they don't work on the concentrated ore deposits in the living rock caverns. And there was some other places that I read about where they don't work, and some different types of things they don't work on. So I thought, well, maybe they don't work here either. So I did the same amount of time, except no Scrimshaw, and I got basically the same result. So it looks like, I think we could pretty much conclude that they don't work there. So I decided to use one Scrimshaw in the Falador mines, and it was an okay location, pretty good. You've got the rune rocks there, and I can mine those. And after 4 hours of mining with the untradeable Scrimshaw, using the whole thing up, I ended up getting around 200k, I think it was, of gems. So about 50k extra per hour on top of the ore that I was gathering. But I think that if you compare that with the Sign of the Porter from Divination, your hourly GP anyways is probably going to be quicker. So unless you have like a real reason why you want to gather your own gems, it's probably going to be better to use the Sign of the Porter, at least some of the higher level ones. Like I use the ones that bank 25, and they work great. So something to think about there. Maybe in the future Jagex will rebalance these Scrimshaws with other things in mind, but who knows? Who knows? I would just hate to see that become dead content. Now, actually, that's what we can do. On the topic of player ports, I actually already have this. Let's go there, because Player Ports 2.0 is probably, I think it'll be out in January. Just a feeling, right? They talked about it being this year and then it got pushed back slightly, but you can kind of get a feeling with the way Jagex is, when they start to really talk about the more detailed stuff, oftentimes things are like 3 months out, So I think right now, actually, we will see the inventor skill come around by like March in next year, in like 3 months time. But I think Player Ports 2.0 is going to be out in January. And I've kind of been getting ready. I mean, for a very long time, I was, getting frame lag. I was continuously buying crew. I would just spend all the time getting crew, new crew all the time, because you can get some seriously good crew if you look hard enough. This one has 130 extra to its stats. That's the kind of thing I've been looking to buy. This guy's got 50 there, multi-talented, really good, extra on speed even, right? So the worst crew members that I have like plus 70 and no negative stats anywhere. This captain is unbelievable. When I got him, he didn't have any stats at all, and so I just stacked on the plus 1%. It turns out they don't stack. He gets plus 4%, which is still really awesome. So now, as of now, like let's say you're at endgame content in your ports, think about not buying crew until you've built up a lot of resources. And, based on the other upgrades that we've seen in the ports, usually it staggers back one region. So chances are we might need cherrywood for port upgrades. Most likely, you're going to want jade and stainless steel. And the other stuff you're probably not going to need very much of. However, the easiest way to get a lot of chimes is to send off as many missions as you can each day. And so that probably means you want to go with like something like slate or cherrywood because then it's pretty easy to send off a lot of voyages. Something to keep in mind. Maybe I'll just show you guys my log here. So I've got all the scrolls, I've gone all the distance. I don't have all the level 90s, so I haven't yet met all of the adventurers. Working on that. But besides that, I've got all the upgrades and some random stuff there. Yeah, not too much. But I'm not buying crew anymore. And I think that's going to be a smart move. Hey guys, welcome back. So I've just been here training divination a little. But there is something I can show you. Check this out. When you deposit energy into the rift now, or memories even, you can just hit one of the numbers, 1 to 3. They set up keybinds for each of the options there. One of the little ninja updates. And it's funny because there was like a really strong approval for those updates. It seemed like everybody was really happy to see Jagex just fixing up little things here and there. And I think that when Jagex looks at that, I mean, they have to just say to themselves that their players are really invested in the game, you know? Because they don't want to see the flashy stuff all the time. It's like, you know, give us meat and potatoes updates, fix up the game, let it run better. And I think that's got to be a really positive thing for Jagex when they see that, because it says that their players really care about the game. So pretty cool, pretty cool. But I actually want to talk about the bigger updates too, because I like to consider how changes to the game have an impact on the price or value, two different things, of things in the game, right? You know, we've had lots of great things, good causes, the Well of Goodwill, fun updates. We've got the holiday event, right? Or we've had this new shard update, which is more directly about the economy. Then we've got stuff like bonds, and then bots are still gone from the game pretty much. I mean, I don't know. Are you guys finding any bots? But all of these things have an impact on prices and on value, you know, the way people value things. And I think that is really cool. Because, you know, if we look at those things, the way prices change, right? Then, and we try and make good decisions, then in that context, the game's currency becomes a way of keeping score. So let's consider one thing. Recently we had the Well of Goodwill. Excellent, right? Players gave over 500 billion GP worth of stuff. Now I think players learned pretty early on that it was in their best interest to actually deposit items, because you could buy items on the Grand Exchange at a price that was, you know, much cheaper than they were listed at, and then depositing those items you would get a bigger bang for your buck. So the well became an excellent item sink. And what that meant is that, you know, excess items in the game were being taken out, but it also held prices a little higher up for items that were overvalued, right? So now that the well is gone, anything that is increasing the value of the currency, deflation, right? Any of those pressures are going to have a bigger impact. Also, items that were overvalued might see a sharp decline because there's going to be less people wanting to buy them because now you can't deposit them in the well. Also, we've got this holiday event now, right? This year, we didn't get a double XP weekend. That's something Jagex decided to do. I think it's because the double XP weekends would have such a huge impact on the game over such a short period of time, and it was kind of disruptive to the economy of the game. You would see big swings in prices, and you know, I think Jagex doesn't really like that so much. And I can kind of see why, because, you know, suddenly the contribution, the work that someone has put into the game, all of a sudden it's worth less than it was just a few days ago, or worth way more, and then, you know, so, or if you wanted to buy something and actually train that weekend, suddenly it cost you a lot more, right? So they've kind of done away with that, but now we've got this 50% per day for 30 minutes, right? And over a month, I mean, that ends up being quite a bit of time. So I think people will look at this Festivora for the month and decide, well, hey, maybe I should take advantage of this more now that we didn't have this double XP weekend. So, you know, the prices of the best items for training will go up, especially items that you can train continuously for 30 minutes and get, you know, a continuous amount of XP. So I decided myself to buy a bunch of Ascension shards because I want to train up fletching a little bit to be able to make some more of the Scrimshaws. And it worked out really great because recently Jagex buffed the amount of Serenic scales that were dropped. So they were more common. A lot of people were in the range dungeon collecting Serenic scales, and that crashed the price of the Ascension keys and the Ascension shards, right? And the scales themselves are way down, and that was expected. And so when I bought them, they were really cheap, and they've already climbed almost 100 GP. We also have this shard system. I like to think of it as a patch to the old coin share system, because previously, you know, let's say 5 people went to kill General Grandor for whatever reason, right? And they happen to get a Bandos chestplate drop. Let's say that the Bandos chestplate was listed at the Grand Exchange for 25 mil, but in reality, people were trading it for 10 mil each. So it was worth quite a lot less. Well, they would get 25 mil GP, right? 15 mil created out of nothing, and that item would be directly injected onto the GE at that median price, as far as I know. That's the way I understand it. So that was causing a lot of inflation, but that's not all. The side of this equation that Jagex hasn't mentioned a lot about is that those players who were, you know, using CoinShare, they had to do one thing less than everybody else in the game. You know, everybody else, think about it. You collect your items, and then if you want to sell them, you bring them to the market. And then you sell them. You have to compete among other sellers to get a good deal for yourself. And what that competition does is it tends to bring down prices. Competition among sellers brings prices down. Competition among buyers brings prices up, right? And that process allows buyers and sellers to find a medium where they're happy, an equilibrium point. And that was not occurring with the previous CoinShare system. I don't know who it is that is working on some of these economic changes to the game. You know, we've had like this really elegant solution with bonds. It's a brilliant solution to dealing with, you know, gold farming in the game. It allows players in the game to provide a service to other players. Something that I've always liked about RuneScape is that, you know, I can go and collect ore and bring that ore to someone who wants it, you know? Really cool process. So it includes that, and it eliminates gold farming. So brilliant, right? This shard system is similarly brilliant because rather than giving them gold up front, they get shards. And then they bring their shards to the market and provide that service to other players. It creates competition among buyers that is going to bring down the prices of boss drops. People will look for more efficient ways to do bossing. And some people may ultimately decide that their time is better spent elsewhere. They'll look to do other things. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think that people who do PVM, they might be slightly unhappy with this process, you know, because now it's less rewarding for them to go and do PVM. But I think that Jagex is going to continue to produce lots of great content for us in the coming months. Not the least of which is the invention skill, which I just cannot wait. This skill has the potential to be so interesting for me. When bonds came out, I put up a video that was kind of controversial about bonds, saying, you know, that rares were probably going to drop a lot in price. Some of the most expensive kind of vanity items were going to drop in price, and that consumption goods would probably be traded less often, be less desirable. In the case of rares, you know, that has happened. And it was already happening because of bots being out of the game, but that process has continued. And, you know, those items are still the most valuable items in the game. But because gold is becoming more valuable, their price relative to gold is declining, right? But their price relative to other things, you know, if you wanted to buy them in cabbages, they would still be going up relative to cabbages because we can have endless cabbages. You can just pick them from anywhere in the game, right? So they're still great items. Now, one thing that I pointed out in that bonds video was that some items were not going to decline relative to gold. You know, anything that you could high-level alchemy at a profit has its value at least tied to some value in gold that is higher than what it's being traded at. And in my mind, those were the safe bets. Those were the good decisions at the time. And I think, you know, deciding to put a lot of my money into those items has been a really good decision, you know? So anybody who did that, I think, is probably doing very well for themselves because gold is going way up in value. And I actually think that when the inventor skill comes out, it's going to be an excellent item sink for those sort of items. So that's something to look forward to. I would really like to see, and I don't know if it'll happen, but merchanting, right, in the game is actually a very positive thing for people to do, I think. It's a really great thing because you learn a lot about... yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it. We've been we've been waiting because it's better if you have more than one person. The words that come out of my mouth. I would like to see Jagex support merchants a little bit because it's great for people. You learn a lot. As far as its effect on the game, it does tend to provide more buyers when there are not enough buyers and more sellers when there are not enough sellers, right? Because people come in and they have a supply ready that allows them to gain a little bit of a profit. Some people say it's really bad, but they're putting up their money, they're taking a risk, right? They're providing a service, right? They're providing sellers, and people buy and sell voluntarily. No one is forcing the people to sell at a certain price. And it's also really great in one other sense, right? When, let's say I know that I can trade something at a slightly higher price and make a profit. Well, for a lot of other people to go to the trouble to learn what I know in order to get that price, right? It would take them a lot of effort, a lot of work. So by them selling to me at a slightly cheaper price and me selling it at a slightly higher price, that's actually the division of labor. And that's a really positive thing for the economy. I mean, let's say I could cut your lawn in half an hour and do just as good a job as you could do in an hour. Well, that frees up a half an hour of your time to do other things. That's just division of labor. So I think that Jagex does need to find a way to properly come out and say, you know what, trading items in the game, right? That's actually a positive aspect of the economy. And it's very positive. So I don't know, I would like to see that as well. And actually, I have no reason to doubt that Jagex will not continue to do good things in the economy because we've seen so much of it so far in recent months. So yeah, that's all I've got for today. If you've made it this far, congratulations. Thanks for watching, guys. I will talk to you next time.